Welcome to Full Circle. I'm Suzanne McAllister. Coming up in our music segment today, we have a dentist, an internationally acclaimed artist, and a former teacher who will be performing the song, the L&M Don't Stop Here No More. It's a really unique blend of music, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy it, so do stay with us. But first, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome a power couple to Full Circle. Joining me now, we have Allison and Tom Melangton. They are here today to talk about Tom's near-death experience and their walk in faith and how they survived a very difficult time in their life. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here, and I want to mention that Allison is the former president of the 2012 Indianapolis Super Bowl Committee and head of the Indianapolis Sports Corporation, but now she has taken on a new position as the senior vice president of events for Holman Motorsports, better known as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Tom is a partner in the Edge Guys. I am so glad to have you both here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I know of you both by reputation, so it's just a joy to be able to sit and talk with you. But Tom, you had a near-death experience. You had 4 cardiac arrests. Before we start talking about that in detail, you know, I look at you and you look healthy, and I would never have known that you went through such a trying time. Did you have any early symptoms? Were you not feeling well in the weeks leading up to it?
No, we felt pretty good. Just, you know, the day of the first cardiac arrest, I didn't feel that great. And we were in Florida and didn't feel good, and got on the airplane, came home, and then I just didn't feel that good. Went to a gas station and there was a song playing on the intercom, a Christian song saying God is Near is the name of the song. And it really resonated with me and it scared me. And usually when I hear a song like, you know, God is near, it gives me comfort. But in this case, it scared me like it was like heaven is near, and I kind of took it kind of, you know, like it sent chills up my spine. And I got in the car and I told Alice, I said, you know, I took that so weird, you know. And then we got home and I didn't feel all that great, and I went to bed, but I didn't even hit the pillow, and I jumped back up and I thought, I just felt like I wasn't going to wake up if I went to bed. So she said, what are you doing? And I said, I just don't feel right. And she said,
and what were you feeling? Was your heart beating quickly? Were you sweating? Were you just...
No, it was just, it was a sense that song was still with me. And I just felt it was, I mean, I honestly believe it was the Holy Spirit prompting me to go to the hospital.
Sure. So Allison, you're a part of this whole process. Give us your perspective on this same time frame.
Yeah, when we were in Florida, ready to get on the airplane, he said, I don't feel good. And I said, you know, what's your symptom? And he said, I don't have one. Something's not right with me. And I could not nail him down on a symptom. Even on the airplane, when we got home, he just said, something's not right. And when we were at the gas station and he heard the song, you know, certainly we both listen to Christian music. We know a lot of Christian songs. But when he got in the car, he had back in the car from hearing this song, he had a completely different look on his face. And he said, the song is just resonating so loud in my ears, but it's not sort of that loud outside the car, but the chorus, God is near, God's talking to me. And I said, well, if God's talking to you, let's listen, right? Let's take a moment, let's block out the white noise and let's listen. We went home, he laid down, and then he sat up and said, I'm being prompted to go to the hospital. I said, let's go.
So by eliminating that white noise and by listening to God through what was coming through you, through the song, you're coming together, really saved your life, right, Tom?
We believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go now to you definitely followed the message that you heard. You're at the hospital. Yep. Things kind of went from bad to worse, didn't they, Allison?
Yes, we got there, and again, it was a little hard to explain because he didn't have a symptom necessarily. We just didn't feel well. They hooked him up to the monitors. He didn't really have anything that unusual. We both felt led to stay, and that was the right choice for us. And the medical staff there agreed to let him stay, and not too long after that, he had a cardiac arrest. And I think it surprised everyone in the emergency room, and the nurses and the doctors, and obviously me. But they got out the defibrillator paddles and brought him back and resuscitated him. And then we said, okay, now we've got to have a new plan here. But we both immediately felt that God had led us there, that God had prompted us to go to the hospital, to have a stay at the hospital. And so we were really listening to every signal God was giving us in the coming weeks and everything that was to happen from
And
there.
that's a reminder for all of us to do the same. So, Tom, you're in the hospital. You're having a cardiac arrest. What do you remember? Do you remember them putting the paddles on you and resuscitating you?
We were asleep. So the first time what I remember is just waking up to just chaos, and then everybody saying, "Okay, well."
Do you know what just happened to you?
Yeah, you know, it just happened, and they informed me, and because we were asleep, it was about 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But they had me hooked up to monitors, so they,
So they could
it
control what
alerted
was-
them that there was a problem.
Yeah.
So, Allison, when they put the paddles on Tom's chest, you actually witnessed his life being saved.
I did.
How have you dealt with that image going through your mind of that moment in time?
Yeah, we were, as Tom said, he had fallen asleep in the bed and I had crawled up next to him. So we were both sleeping when the alarms went off and all the medical staff came rushing in and they started using the paddles. It happened so quickly and I had come out of a deep sleep, but I was watching it and you're thinking, this isn't really happening. And as soon as I realized the nature of what was going on, I just dropped on my knees and I started praying, because that was the only way I could reconcile, and help. I wanted to pray for him, and I wanted to pray for the doctors and pray for the nurses that were trying to save him. And it probably took 3 or 4 minutes, and I felt like, God, while I was, scared to death and having a hard time watching it, I did feel God's hand on us and on him. And so that was comforting and peaceful at the same time I was trying to watch it. In the end, he had the 4 cardiac arrests, and fortunately or unfortunately, I was next to him every time he had one. And I had a really amazing, godly friend say to me, sometimes my flesh would take over and my mind would go to watching them try to save him each time. And it was hard to sort of deal with each time. So a friend said to me, which was just such a gift, she said, you need to turn that movie around in your head, and you need to not try to push it away and feel like it's spiritual warfare. You need to embrace the 4 memories of them saving Tom, because that's a miracle from God. Only 5% of the people that have a cardiac arrest survive, and Tom had 4 of them. And so you need to embrace that memory as a miracle every time and stop trying to push it out of your head. And that was such a gift that she gave me, to think about it so differently.
Absolutely, and many of us can reframe certain things in our own lives. We are going to take a break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask Tom about his near-death experience. Stay with us. Welcome back to Full Circle. We're continuing our conversation with Tom and Allison Melangton. We're hearing about the near-death experience that Tom had, and certainly the miracle that he is still here. In fact, you call yourself, you're in the 1% club, right? Why is that?
Well, I've said that. It may be the 1/10 of 1% club. And it's because when people have a cardiac arrest, it's different than a heart attack. Heart attack is cloggage of your arteries, where cardiac arrest is more of an electrical event where your heart just stops beating for some reason. And so the way to bring you back is with the paddles. So, I'm more aware of defibrillators now. In fact, I have one built in. I take it with me everywhere I go.
That's good, that's good. So what was that near-death experience like, though? Was it peaceful? We hear about people seeing the light. Is that a similar experience that you had?
Well, there wasn't light, but it was specific, and Allison remembers exactly when it happened. And there was one day where I had 3 cardiac arrests all on the same day, where they were it was touch and go. Blood pressure was too high, then it was too low, and just everything was a lot of bells and whistles going off all day long. And I had a peaceful time, and she felt it was during a time where they were kind of losing me, and I was drifting off, and I felt this presence of heaven. It wasn't light, but it was a place, and I felt my dad's presence, who had passed away a couple years ago. Not really an image. There was just it's kind of a dreamy
But warm
area,
and peaceful.
very warm, inviting, peaceful.
Desiring was a word you used.
It was desirable, and I remember, kind of saying, well, I was just thinking about her and my son Cameron and the rest of our family, that they just be crushed, and I felt like, maybe I could be a better Christian, and if you can give me a little more time here, I just feel like I can do more work for God here on earth over the next few years.
And your prayer was answered. Allison, give us your sense of how, that had to have been a very fearful moment for you, and then knowing that Tom had this near-death experience.
Yeah, and I was so thankful our pastor was with us when it actually happened. We were standing there holding hands, and our pastor and I, and we were next to Tom's bed. And you know what? We both felt at the same time sort of a draining, sort of a calm draining of both of us, watching them work on him and what was going on. And then for me, it was fear and peace at the same time. And when they got him to come to, and I started talking to him, and he couldn't wait to tell me. He said, I just think I was almost in heaven. And he told me the story, but it was very peaceful. With such a frightening thing going on for both of us, we still had so much peace because we felt like God was there with us, and He was really orchestrating and dictating everything. And
except I think Tom asked, you kind of bargained with God that you wanted to come back for a few years.
Well,
Is that right?
I did say, if you could just give me another 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, I thought I should have asked for 10 to 20.
Yeah. The other interesting thing quickly was each time he had the cardiac arrest and he went into this sort of state where they had to bring him back, there was a lot of pictures in his mind flashing. And I know that there's a saying, your life flashes before you. He had that experience 4 times where tons and tons of just pictures of his life went by very, very quickly before he went into that next state.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And they were not scary images. They were just boom, 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 and then all of a sudden you're kind of back.
And then here you are.
And then the doctors are saying, do you know what just happened?
Well, we will find out how that experience has changed your life now. But first, we'll take another break. Stay with us. Powerful testimony of the story of a near-death experience is what we're talking about on today's program with our guests, Tom and Allison Melangton. It seems like there's no doubt that your faith and your love helped you through this very difficult, chaotic time. But people were also placed in your life to help that process. I want you, if you would, both of you, to talk about the cleaning lady that came into the hospital room. Who wants to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
I had sort of developed a bit of a fear response to the bells and the whistles in the room. Every time they'd start going off, I'd start thinking, okay, here we go again. And so I was dealing with a little bit of fear myself. And I went to sleep that night praying in his room that God sort of helped me work through that fear. And in the morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, the door to the hospital room opened just a little bit, and this lovely woman stuck her head in the door and said, "Do you mind if I get your trash?" And I said, "Sure, come on in." And I thought, it's Saturday morning, a little early for the trash, but okay. So she came in, and she was with the housekeeping staff, and she got the trash and went out, and then she came back in, and she kind of poked around a little bit, and then I said, "Is there anything else?" And she said, she just looked at me and she said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, what is it?" And she came over to the edge of the bed, and she just stood there for a long time. And, a long time meaning, 10, 15 seconds, which felt like a long time.
Sure.
And she said, I said, "Are you all right?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, you have something you need to share." And she said, "I do." I said, "Okay, tell us whatever it is. We're ready." And she said, "I was cleaning upstairs, and this isn't my floor. I was cleaning upstairs, and God asked me to come down and tell you something." And I said, that's great, and thank you for being obedient and for coming down here." And she said, "He wants me to tell you to walk in faith and not in fear." And I had not told anyone that I was struggling with this sort of fear response from the machine noises. And so I knew absolutely that God wanted me to know that. And so I said, "Okay, I want to know the whole story. How did he get you to come from that floor to this floor?" So we had a great engaging conversation where she described that to me. And then Tom had started waking up, and he said, "I'm the one laying in the bed here. Did God have anything for me?" Which was kind of funny, because it was early on Saturday morning. And she said, I do have a message for you too from God." And what did she say?
She said, "Without trials, you don't have a testimony."
Yeah.
Wow, and that is so true, because if everything in all of our life just was very smooth and everything going well, we wouldn't know the closeness of God and the importance of our faith,
Right.
and walking in that faith without that fear. So how has this changed? I mean, obviously going through this changed your life, but how now, as you look back in the rearview mirror, how is it changing sort of your present life and as you look forward, Tom?
Well, I certainly feel more terminal, and that time is very short here on Earth. So, I am going through a phase of fixing up our house and shredding old tax returns and stuff like that. But more importantly, I'm much more intentional about my faith. And anytime there's an opportunity, I'll seize it to talk about our experience and to just walk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
And Allison, have you ever thought about what it would have been like had Tom not survived this
Yeah.
4 cardiac arrest episodes?
Yeah. Actually, we talked about it a lot, and we've thought about it a lot, and I don't know how someone without the faith that we have would have really survived all of what's happened, because it was the thing that in the midst of the chaos and the craziness and the fear for me about my future and our future, the thing that gave us the peace. And so I'm thankful that I'm in a marriage, that we have so much faith together and individually, and we're going to continue to make that the cornerstone of our life. It defines who we are, our faith.
Absolutely, and thank you both so much for sharing your story, because I'm sure there's somebody at home that has a difficult situation that they're going through, and there's no doubt that your words of encouragement will change their lives as well. So thank you both so very much, and I'm glad you got caught up on shredding all those tax documents.
Thank you.
And in a funny way, we realize that all that stuff doesn't matter. It's our friends and our faith and the godly people in our lives.
That's right.
Allison and Tom Melangton have been our guests. I want to thank them again for being here. But don't go away. When we come back, we have some music for you next.
Stay tuned. Musical Showcase is coming up next. And now, here's our musical showcase.
Well, I'm glad you could join us today. Another half an hour has come and gone. If you'd like more information about our show, go to our website, fullcircleshow.net. But first, here's the L&M Don't Stop Here no more.
When I was a curly-headed baby, my daddy set me down on his knee. Said, son, you go to school and learn your letters. Don't you be a dusty miner boy like me. I was born and raised in the mouth of a hazard holler, where the coal cars rolled and rumbled by my door. Now they stand in rusty rows all empty, 'cause the yelling in don't stop here anymore. Used to think my daddy was a black man, with script enough to buy the company store. Now he goes to town with empty pockets, and his face is white as the February snow. I was born and raised in the mouth of a hazard holler, where the coal cars rolled and rumbled by my door. Now they stand in rusty rows all empty, 'cause the yelling in don't stop here anymore.